Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Lord of Subsidence Lufenia. This is Tidus's raid Lufenia against the Tunnelers, originally featured in Cedar's event. I'll talk about the team in just a sec, but there's quite a lot going on at the start that I want to get into. First of all, they start straight away with the Orb, which is +2 on instant turn skills. Unfortunately, Ultimecia, who I've brought to deal with it, and also Queen, take a while to get set up with their EXs, so I have to do a little bit of a dance of making sure I get things in the right order. Added to that, there's also quite a lot of debuff management here. I've got Faris Call, but I want to make sure that Ultimecia gets to get her debuff on both enemies before I use it, so that when it comes to reapplying debuffs later, I don't suddenly have a slot taken up. Now, it's quite important that with these guys, you have their debuff slots filled up with frame debuffs, because as well as debuffing you with that annoying center poison, that HP poison they're known for, they also do quite a lot of buffs to themselves, quite nasty ones, actually. There's a framed... what is it? There's a framed defense up, a framed speed up. Neither of those you want in this fight, because these guys are hitting you with HP attacks pretty much every time they get a chance. You really don't want them to do that. And you don't want to get too many turns, because then that orb's going to get really hard to manage. So currently I've just been dealing with it through AAs and calls. I found them a little bit unreliable. It seemed if I used a call too early in the orb, it wouldn't tick it up, but then later on it would. I haven't quite worked out what's going on there. But we're in a good spot now. Just about ready to use Ultimecia's EX, that's the main reason I brought her here. So she can use her Apocalypse pretty much every turn, or, every turn apart from the free turn she gets off it, if she's spamming her skills. Which is great. It means she handles this orb really, really well. But they're just about to get to a threshold, here they are just now, 79%, where they lose the orb and they get this blue aura. Now, what the aura does is it prevents them from being launched and delayed, which is pretty crucial with Seifer on the team. The idea is they want you to bring turn hogs, like Tidus, the orb's doing that, but also this aura. And also, immediately afterwards, they're going to do their Reaper Plus, which is a big AoE HP attack. It's honestly not too nasty, especially if you've got Seifer with his wonderful EX debuff, which deals with a lot of the things they're going to put out on their turns, preventing them from doing brave damage. But Queen was pretty low on HP. I was trying to use Devastates in order to make sure she still had her glasses buff up when they took their turn, but it was too high turn rate, so it didn't work out. So I made sure to use a Balestra Lunge, so she got a turn and could use her AA to give herself some health. Because otherwise she really would die there. Now, Seifer's function in this team is to provide a little bit of space. He's always good at that, so long as the enemy isn't giving themselves a bunch of frame turns. But he's also really good at dealing, as I said, with those annoying bravery attacks. It's one of my favorite things about him. You can use him in a very aggressive way, very aggressive no boss turn kind of way, but you can make it so that the turns they do get are really not very impactful for them. He's effectively just a great bully character who puts out quite a lot of damage himself. At this stage of the fight, I'm just trying to whittle them down, not let them lose their debuffs, because I don't want them getting their nasty buffs, but I'm trying to conserve skill uses. I have to make sure to use Ultimecia LD every so often, because she gets a quite important buff off it, and her damage suffers. But when you're using Ultimecia without her burst, there's always a real fine line between longevity and her actual damage potential. It's quite hard to find that middle ground, I find. Especially when you're relying on her as much as I am in this fight. It's also annoying because her burst would just be so good here, Deleting all their turns, giving yourself a little bit more breathing room. Ah. But, hey-ho. I've brought Sabin Call on Ultimecia. Just, again, I've said creating space, but these guys are pretty fast, and the orb can be pretty hard to deal with, doesn't tick up too quickly. So just having access to that delay, I like it a lot. Right, now I'm just sort of thinking about the next big threshold, which is 50%. It's when the orb reappears, and it's going to be there for the rest of the fight, so really you want to push your damage there as much as possible and make that phase last as little time as possible. So it's pretty important here that I do use skills for Apocalypse at this point, because otherwise she's not going to have access to it when the orb's up, and I'm going to need that. Shockwave Pulsar for the buff, of course. I did try to maintain, to like save Shockwave Pulsar as late as possible, but she plows through those 12 turns, you know? It's 4 turns. Or 3? Yeah, 3, because you get the Apocalypse plus the 3 free turns. So, it does just vanish, sadly. Right, so one of them's got his orb back. I'm just using the Tiger Break call here to try and push it below 50% so that I can use the Apocalypse and, you know, handle the orbs together. Nearly get there. It's enough that when I press Apocalypse, you know, we're still going to be dealing with the orb. No problem. But now's when to really, you know, put your foot on the gas and get that damage in. I think Ultimecia is one of those characters who you see 100,000 come up. It doesn't look like that much, but you realize that she's actually doing, in each one of her turns, she's doing, you know, 100,000 3 times, plus whatever Apocalypse does, usually like 70,000 or something. That's a lot of damage. It's just, she burns out so quickly. Just reapplying those debuffs to make sure they're not going to get any of their nasty buffs up. They got that aura, so I can't just delay them to high heaven. But I will be very keen to, as soon as they take their turn, do their Reaper, I'm going to want to just delay them to hell and back. And now there you can see, this is Queen's Resetsu Arousal Glasses buff. She's not dying. It says 0, but she's not dying. It's actually really, really handy. Especially as she can just heal her health straight back up. No problem. Especially if you're taking a lot of turns with her wonderful HP regen. So at this sort of point, I'm looking to probably do my summon, do a bunch of delays, and then bring in Codfriend. I did have a go at doing this without bringing a friend in, and I just don't think it's... I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I think it's pretty damn hard with this team. Ultimecia she runs out of juice way too quickly, I think, for that to be particularly reasonable. But, yeah, someone prove me wrong, please. Man, all those turns, though, it is really nice to just bam, bam, bam. Although her damage is starting to fall off at this point. Unfortunately, these guys are immune to any kind of imperil, so you can't bring... Shiro is really the big one. But it's hard to supplement her damage. I thought about Hope Call. I think I've seen people use Hope Call. It's quite good, but that would just be for Ultimecia. I guess Cloud of Darkness Friend too. But no, I like the calls I brought. They are melee weak though, so you know it's more designed for that. I'm using HP attacks here actually because it gives Ultimecia a bit more longevity. I don't want her to have Apocalypse during this. It's a bit of a waste of her free turns. But as you can see, Seifer has the second last turn, so I am gonna waste one of these turns. When Seifer's turn comes up, I'm pretty sure what I do is I press the AA, because you can't use a burst, even a friend burst effect, during a summon, which is a real problem. So I use the AA just to burn a turn, so I could use High-Speed Particle Beam, get the consecutive turn. That's fine, I can live with that. It gets her with her HP damage up, and she probably needs it at this point. And finally in with the burst, and I've currently got that Apocalypse phase set up, and I've got an EX phase for Queen set up. So we should be seeing quite a lot of follow-ups from Cloud of Darkness here. Tragically, neither of these characters have Rebreak in their kit, so Cloud of Darkness is inevitably gonna get a break and get a consecutive turn. But that's just the way it goes, I suppose. Yeah, there it is. The nice thing with a consecutive turn is you can use her high-speed particle beam and not worry about getting another consecutive turn off the back of that, because you can't have them back-to-back. And it also ticks the orb up, so it's not the worst thing in the world. These guys, obviously, they've got the aura up, so I can't delay them. But when you look at that turn order, you gotta wonder if you need delays at this point anymore. It's, yeah, it's looking pretty clear at the moment, but you never know. At this stage of the fight, it's just pumping out as much damage as I possibly can, trying to make that friend unit go as far as possible. So, I found this fight really, really difficult to think of a team that would work for a potential TCC challenge for. Because, you know, Macnol surprised us with Queen Lufenia with no friend unit. So I hope he doesn't do that this time for the extreme. But, I say the extreme, that's the music playing in the background. But I think without resorting to Terra or Tifa, who to me are the obvious turn stealers you'd use, you've pretty much got Lightning and Ultimecia, and then you got the really funky stuff. But Lightning and Ultimecia are the obvious ones to me. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the fight. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next event, which will be Reno LC. Have a good one.